Hi there.
Howdy.
Well, we're going to do a little story time on Mogs and Dogs, and that is because we took a road trip right before Thanksgiving in November that was not anything exciting, and it turned into an unintended adventure that we weren't expecting. And so we don't have video of the first part, so we thought we'd just kind of get you up to speed and tell you what happened. But basically, we decided to take the Unimog to Colorado for Thanksgiving because we have family in Colorado Springs, but also Rob Pickering, the premier Unimog mechanic in the country, Terry Lee Enterprises, was not too far from our family. So the whole goal was to get the Unimog to Terry, have some work done by the expert, and spend Thanksgiving with the family. So we didn't do a lot of videoing along the way. None. I think I snapped a couple snapshots, but it just was supposed to be, getting from point A to point B. We decided to take the southern route, I-10 to I-25, just because we wanted to really try to stay in the Unimog, but we don't yet have it. We don't have the total composites box on it yet, so it's not super warm. We have a heater. So we decided to just do the route where the weather was a little bit better.
Originally we planned for 5 days. We know the Unimog is slow, so that turned into 4 days because we hadn't finished the fuel tank yet.
Right.
So we finally got that done and a million other things. So then we finally did get on the road. We only had 4 days left.
Well, day one we made it to Quartzsite.
Day one we made it to Quartzsite.
Which is on the border of California and Arizona.
Yep, and everything went fine up into Quartzsite. We spent the night at a dispersed camping spot in Quartzsite, and there's a ton of them there. And it was a great night.
Yep.
Spent it in the back of the camper. It was lovely.
Feels like you're on the moon.
Yeah. So that was fine. The truck did fine. The truck started up fine the next morning, and we drove off again. And that second day was a very long day, from what I remember. We started pretty early, and it was fairly late.
I think
like 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
What happened was on day two, we realized that we needed to actually, instead of taking the route that we wanted to take because we were going so slow, we could actually take a highway that cuts the corner of our route and save 100 miles, which ends up being a lot of time because just to shave off some time. So we ended up not going all the way to Las Cruces. We ended up turning kind of northeast and ended up in a town called Sholo. And we were going to camp that night too, but I missed the turnoff where we were supposed to camp, and we ended up rolling into this little town, and it was a long day driving. Chad was tired. I happened to look up dog-friendly hotels, and there was one at a reasonable price, so I threw out the idea of, do you want to just stay in a hotel? It's a lot colder here. And I think, if the price is good, it sure is tempting. We could take showers and that kind of thing. So we did. We stopped for the night in a hotel in Sholo, Arizona.
Yeah, that turned out to be a pretty good idea. So that night, the temperatures dropped below freezing. I think they were down in the
low 20s.
Low 20s. And so below freezing. And the next morning we woke up early. We were going to get back on the road, have a nice day. And the truck started without problem. That wasn't a big deal. So that was great. I was worried about that before we left, if we had enough cranking power in the batteries. So I got new batteries and the truck started just fine, but it would not build air pressure. So we let it sit for quite a while and run, and no air pressure. So there must have been a leak somewhere. I was thinking that it must have one of the lines must have frozen or something like that. The thing I want to point out here, looking back at it, because there were definitely some mistakes made and things I didn't realize or understand. I had never started the truck in cold weather before. So I had always started it here in Southern California. I think in Flagstaff actually was probably the coldest we ever started it, but it was nowhere near freezing.
Like 50s.
Yeah, 50s. So the truck has always just started immediately, and it immediately builds air pressure. So we've never had any issue like this before at all. So this was completely foreign to me. And this type of truck is completely foreign to me, as you know from previous videos. So I am not familiar at all with cold weather and diesel trucks or trucks with air systems or any of that. all of our previous experiences with gas trucks, not trucks, but like our SUV, our Montero, and cars, and they usually start right up in the cold, and there's no air pressure to be built, and they just drive away and everything works fine. So this is all completely foreign. So please keep that in mind as this unfolds.
We learned a lot of important lessons that cold weather people are gonna, I can see the comments coming in now. We understand.
Yeah.
We had to learn them. Yes.
Yeah, I grew up in cold weather, but I was too young to be driving trucks around in cold weather. So it's not a Southern California thing necessarily, but it kind of is.
So at this point, when it's not building pressure, what's your stress level at? Like 5 out of 10?
Yeah, pretty high, because we can't move without air pressure.
Right.
The main thing is that the brakes don't work correctly without air pressure.
Seems important.
Yeah. And most importantly, we can't release the parking brakes without air pressure. So my first thought when this won't work is that something in the air system has frozen, because it was overnight and it dropped below 32. And we have an air antifreeze system in our truck, which is just this old thing that holds alcohol, and you turn it on and the air system, I guess, pulls alcohol through a wick into the air system, and the alcohol helps reduce the moisture in the system.
Interesting.
So I believe that's how that works. It's definitely not an air dryer. Our truck is much older than that, and we have no other systems for cold weather other than this ether system, this start pilot system for helping to start it. So that's it for the antifreeze system, and I didn't deal with that at all before we left.
Did you know about it, that it was there?
I knew it existed,
Okay.
and I knew it was there, and I've never touched it because
Haven't needed to.
never had to, and there's plenty of other things to be working on. And it is something I never got around to, and I didn't, for some reason, it slipped my mind as we were leaving. I didn't think to take it apart and make sure it was full and all that. So my initial thought is that this is my fault for not having dealt with that, and we need to look at that first and get that up and running, and maybe that will help us fix our issue. So that is where we pick up with the video, and we are in the parking lot of the Sholo Motel 6, which ended up being a pretty good spot to be able to work on it.
It was a clean one, which is not always the case with Motel 6, but yeah, they were really nice. There was a Starbucks across the street, so yeah.
The only issue with that was that since we were parked in their parking lot, and we are big, it definitely stood out, and we were directly in front, we felt that we had to keep renting room there to keep parked there. We definitely didn't feel right about moving back into the truck overnight and camping there and not, paying them. So that just felt wrong. So that comes into play a little bit later.
They were very nice. Shout out to Sholo Motel 6.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Extremely nice. They didn't give us any problems at all.
Very clean.
Decent hotel, yeah. And decent rates. And Sholo itself is a very tiny town. Seemed like it was only like one main street, which was only maybe 20 blocks long. And they had one rental car company.
Which also comes into play later.
Yeah, which also comes into play later. They had, 2 auto parts stores?
Yep, which I walked to multiple times, trying to get things to help. Yep. Yeah.
So I guess we'll leave you there, and we'll pick up with me working on the air antifreeze system on the Unimog.
Thanks.
All right, so the main issue is when I let the truck run, it would hit 7 bar on air pressure and then not go any higher. So we had sub-freezing temperatures last night, so I think that had something to do with it. Something iced up somewhere and wouldn't allow the air to flow. I guess that's how it works. So anyway, we do have this anti-freeze system here in the truck. It is getting warmer, by the way, so I'm hoping that maybe the warm weather will help defrost everything and it'll just work. But while I'm sitting here, I'm going to deal with this. This is called an antifreeze injector or system, and basically you set this lever in the position it's in right now. That's the winter position, and it has another position where you turn it the opposite way, so the T is facing this way. I have to figure that out still, but that's the summer position. And in the winter, you have this dipstick here and filler port, and it's got a lot of sludge in there, which isn't supposed to be there, but you put ethyl alcohol in here. This holds it, and then in the winter this is open, so you're running ethyl alcohol through the system to keep it from icing up. And mine was open, so that's good, but I'm sure I had no ethyl alcohol in there, and I just have this sludge. So since I'm sitting here waiting for everything to warm up, what I'm going to do is take this canister off with these 4 bolts. I just talked to Rob Pickering, he was super helpful. Pull that canister, try to clean out the gunk. We're going to pick up some ethyl alcohol, or I guess any air antifreeze will work. I guess that's a common thing for air systems. I didn't know that. So we're going to try to pick that up locally, fill this again with antifreeze, and run it through the system, and hopefully everything works. And it'll work in the future because it's just going to get colder on our trip. Look at that. Okay, so maybe there was some alcohol in there, but that is a hot frickin' mess. So we gotta find somewhere to dump that. So there's this tube covering this other tube here. And I don't know, that looks pretty caked in there, so that might be our issue. Or an issue. So we got to somehow clean that out as well. I think it might be a filter. Here is the bottom with the canister removed. This isn't a tube. I see that. This is the handle that turns it off in summer, turns it on in the winter, and it opens that hole. And that other tube, it's most definitely a filter, so we gotta clean that somehow as well and clean up all this. So I'm just gonna clean everything, put alcohol in there, and hope for the best. All right, so this is our canister. There's actually instructions on it. Mine are a little messed up, so you can't read them, and I think they might be in German anyway. Yep, most definitely. This is our goo. We're in a hotel, by the way. I'm glad we actually went to the hotel.
I know, I keep thinking about that.
Okay. So you can see it separating now.
Okay.
So we had some alcohol in there, but I don't know if that filter would have allowed it to make its way through the system. So that's that. Other than that, it's just a canister. So we'll clean that out, and then the hard part's going to be this filter. So there seems to be an O-ring. Obviously I don't have a new one of those, so we'll keep that intact. So that's completely cleaned out. There is a drain here, so you could drain this, but Rob was thinking it might be so sludged up that it might not all come out. Ours probably would have, but I think it's good to get in there and clean everything and make it spotless. This is the dipstick. The threads on mine were really bad. once I get around more tools, I'm gonna, actually, I have tools. We're gonna hit these. I don't know what this is. It's like a white corrosion. It almost looks like battery acid. Obviously it can't be that, but that corrosion just makes the threads hard to turn. And then this is definitely a filter. The one end is plugged up, so you can't get fuel in that way, or alcohol, so it has to absorb through here. I'm pretty sure this sets the height of the adjuster though, so I'm going to reuse this. I've cleaned it as best I can with what I have. Alright, so that's back together. It's empty at the moment. We have a new number of auto parts stores that are about a mile or two away, which I could walk to, but since it's warmed up around here, it's gone from like below freezing to like 50 degrees. It's pretty nice. And this side of the truck's been sitting in the sun. I am going to just try to start it, see if we can't get pressure, then drive over to the auto parts store, and then we'll fill that up with antifreeze after that. So let's go try that out right now. One other suggestion that was made by Rob was that just leave the engine running, and the air going through the air lines is warm, so it'll potentially eventually clear the frozen whatever that's causing the air issue. So this is what we're going for. We're at 0 because I drained the tank. So let's see if it builds pressure. All right, it took a little while for it to start moving at all, but I guess it has to fill up the tanks first. Yeah, but we are moving, so that's good. Remember, 7 bar is where it stopped before. That's where we need to get past 7 bar. And in case you're watching this, you don't know about Unimogs, the problem is it needs to, the air pressure needs to go all the way up to this orange line here, which is 12 bar, for this light to go off, which means that there's enough air pressure to release the parking brake. So at 7 bar, I even tried it, it would not release the parking brake. Without the parking brake released, we can't go anywhere. Not that we would want to, because I don't think the regular brakes, the service brakes, would work as they should either. So, all right, we're moving. Come on. So it's imperative that we have full pressure, or we just can't do anything. So this is a big problem. So that didn't work, but our foot brake valve is leaking again. That must be the issue. So that's a much bigger problem. All right, thought I could out rev it up really high and try to get past it, but it gets up to about 7 bar, and that's as high as it'll go. So we are gonna take this off and not rebuild it because I don't have any new parts, but do what I did in my first video. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch it, where I take it apart, clean everything, lube everything, and put it back together. And we're gonna do that in the back of the truck. So that should be really interesting. I'm not gonna film the whole thing like I did the first time. If you want to see it, go back and look at the back of the truck, or go back and look at the previous video, and I'll let you know how this goes on the other side. I am done putting this back together. I torqued these bolts to 5 foot-pounds, as I said in my previous video, and it wasn't too bad. But I didn't see anything in there that would make me think there was a problem. So I guess that's good. Nothing's broken. It wasn't very dirty either. Shouldn't be. I just did this like a year ago and haven't driven it that much. So yeah, you can take one of these apart and clean it and lube it on the road. All you need is a 22 millimeter, a 10, maybe a torque wrench. Definitely you have to have these though. O-ring pliers, and of course lube. I normally go with the super grease stuff. I don't know, it was something different than this, but I forgot it. This is all they had, so hopefully this will work. You just need something that's not going to destroy O-rings, as far as I know. And then Gina is enjoying herself. Everybody's racked out. It's been a hard day for them.
Yeah, this is so hard.
So I'm gonna go put this in and we'll test it out and see how it goes. All right, we got this back in. These 4 bolts back here are the worst. They're really hard to get to. 13 millimeter wrench. I would recommend putting a short 13 millimeter wrench in your kit specifically for that. I'm sure you can use it other places. There's a lot of 13 millimeter on this truck. So mine's really long and it's a real pain in the ass trying to turn it anywhere in here. So these aren't bad. These are 22 millimeter, but these 4 back here that mount this to the wall, pain in the ass. All right, moment of truth. Stand back. All right. All right, I'm gonna let it run. I'll catch you up in a few seconds.
How you feeling?
Awesome. So that didn't work. It's still leaking out the bottom. That time I got 0 pressure. It wouldn't go anywhere. It's still coming out this tube.
What tube?
This tube here. Now we shouldn't be leaking air there. You hear that? All right, took it apart again, found a piece that I thought was upside down, flipped it up, put it in, confident this time it's gonna work. No. Let's pull it off again, see if I missed anything else. So, we just spent the entire day working on the foot brake valve, and we are still here at a Motel 6. We are extremely happy though that we decided last night to drive to a hotel. We were feeling that way.
We didn't want to try to find a place to stay off-road in the dark, so.
Yep. So we could have gone dispersed camping. That was a big possibility yesterday. And I am very glad we didn't do that because we would be doing all this out in the middle of the woods.
Yes.
And we would have 0 access to any parts stores or anything like that.
Yeah, I walked to the part stores twice today, like a mile each way. It was good.
Yeah, not that it mattered.
Right.
We didn't fix it.
Right.
And I did find some cracks in a piece of the foot brake valve. I think that may be the cause of our issues. That's possible. But I'll put those up right now so you can see that. And I think we are at this point just going to try to get the truck towed. All right, we have another day at our Motel 6. Looks like we're probably going to be spending Thanksgiving here. Don't know for sure. We're working on stuff. But I decided to try one last thing. Here we go, open up again. Now this piece here, it goes in here. Like so. Now, one thing I don't like about this piece right now is that getting this snap ring in, it's not really happening. I can't get the whole thing to seat, and I tried for a long time yesterday. So I'm afraid maybe there's some deformation or something going on here that I can't see visually that's causing that not to go in, but nothing I can do about that. What we do have here on this piece, and what I think might be the culprit, we'll see, is we have these little cracks here and here and here. So I think there's 3 cracks. Now it looks like there's some, I don't think this is a crack. Wow, these might all be cracks. Yeah, those look like they might all be cracks. Wow, so there's cracks all along there. Maybe if you've done this before or you have one of these apart, if you could look at that and let me know, take some photos, that'd be good for everybody to know. At first I thought these were straight enough that they look like they were built in, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're all possible cracks. So I think that might be our problem. I know they don't seem like much, but at high air pressure, what is it, 150 psi, it could definitely get through there. So I'm thinking that might be our problem. Moving on, what are we gonna do? Boom, JB Weld. We're gonna give it a shot. Now, this right here is the only thing that touches anything down there. So all this is kind of wide open. It holds the spring. Like the spring sits here. But I think I can goop up the JB Weld all over that. And I don't have to worry about it messing with any of the tolerances of the seating or anything like that. So I'm just going to go for it and see if it works. It's sure not working the way it is. So, alright, so I took the parts out of this. You can see our cracks there. The weird thing though is there's no cracks on the inside. So you would think that you would need cracks on both sides for air to flow through, but I don't really know. I don't know why they would be there. So the brake pedal has a little metal dagger attached to it, if you will. It's actually pointy, and that goes in here. So you press on the brake pedal, it pushes this in, which pushes against this, which I guess blows air through here. So I don't know why this would have cracks on it. I guess it's getting pushed from this side. Maybe that's creating stress cracks on this side. So I don't know. But that's not normal, and that's the only thing I see. It's the only cracks I see. So we're gonna weld those and see what happens. All right, that is complete. I just put a thin layer of JB Weld all the way around, covering any cracks, and we're gonna hope that that works. Just use basic JB Weld. Now we just have to wait. Well, it sets in 4 to 6 hours, cures in 15 to 24 hours. So 15 hours minimum before putting object back in use. That's a lot of hours. We may have shipped the truck by then, so we'll see.
Ideally.
If we're still here and the truck hasn't moved yet, then we'll put this back in use and see if it works. All right, slide update. Hannah Dog is here. Thor is down here. Gina is at Starbucks, a couple doors down. We have moved out of our hotel room. We're not going to do that for another night. We're back in the truck, in the parking lot. You can hear the traffic here is insane. We have secured a rental car. We have a Mini Cooper. That should be interesting. It's actually a Countryman, so those are pretty big, so I think the dogs will be fine in that back seat. So that'll get us to Colorado. And then we have secured transportation for the truck from United States of Freight. And it's a pretty big hit. That's like $3,700. So this is going to be a very expensive trip. All right, so I just wanted to jump in here real quick and add a little bit, because I just said that we ordered a tow truck and we rented a rental car. And we were going to have the truck towed to Rob in Colorado, and we were then going to drive the Mini Cooper to Colorado as well. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the factors behind that decision. First thing we were worried about was the mounting hotel costs. Because we were parked in their parking lot. We felt we had to pay for a hotel every night we were there. Later on reflection, that would have been kind of minimal compared to the actual towing costs. So
Right.
that wasn't as big of it's not, looking back in hindsight, or it was bigger concern then than it should have been. So that was one thing. The second thing is we were expected to be at my family's house for Thanksgiving. They wanted us to be there. They were talking about driving to pick us up, which would have been like an 18-hour round trip. And actually, my stepfather had gotten on the road at that point and decided to come get us.
We didn't even know the plan at that point. He wanted to help us get to them for Thanksgiving. We could celebrate Thanksgiving any time, but we had limited time to see Chad's sister Shannon, and so if we were late, we would miss her, and we really wanted to see her. So Ed just got in the car and started driving while we were trying to figure out what was going to happen. So a little bit stressful. I just want to jump into, our stress levels were super high. Probably 9 out of 10 for me, just all the unknowns, worrying about the money, the hotel costs, like, can we fix it? Can we get parts? Like, what are we looking at? Also with heading into the holiday weekend, everybody was going to be closed and off. So what were our resources that we didn't want to bother Rob on vacation or other, on the holiday. So we were pretty stressed out about the whole thing.
Yeah, we looked at a bunch of different options. Local garages.
Yeah.
We couldn't find anybody that was willing to work on the truck or knew, the bigger trucks. We were told to go to a place that was hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
But we couldn't drive the truck, so we would have had to tow it there.
And then there was no guarantee they would know what to do with the Unimog too, so,
Yeah, and then it's a Unimog, so it's a specialty truck. Getting parts, I could have ordered parts probably from Expedition Imports, had a new foot brake valve sent, or the kit, the rebuild kit sent. The problem with that, I felt, was it would take a while to get there, so we're going to have mounting costs as we sit there with hotel. We would miss Thanksgiving. And then the other issue was, let's say we get the part that we think it is, which is a foot brake valve, and then that doesn't actually fix the problem with the air.
That I think was I remember that being like the biggest concern. We wait all this time and then we get the new part in and it doesn't even solve the problem. So
or a new problem arises.
Right.
Something else happened in the process. So it was just a real, there was no really good answer.
Yeah.
And like Gina said, it was during the holidays, so a lot of people were closed. It was
or unreachable. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had thought about maybe finding a place to store the truck, but then we would have had to get it towed there. So we just felt we're going to spend a lot of money on a temporary solution. Let's just put that into the shipping, send it to Rob. We know it's going to be done right with him.
Right.
He's going to be able to get the parts. And once we're in Colorado, we can stay there as long as we want. So that was kind of the big thing is...
Thanks, Pat and Ed.
Yeah. And we did. We stayed there for a good month while it was being fixed.
Yep.
So that's what we kind of our thinking behind the decision. It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
We don't have that money.
It's still, in kind of thinking about this video, it's been painful to relive again. I keep saying, just look at it like a parking ticket. Let's just pay it and be done with it. But it's not like a $70 parking ticket. It was a lot of money, so that we don't have. But I do think the level of stress that we had, and I don't know. I think it was in the end. I think we did the right thing. I have no regrets for doing what we did.
Yeah, we don't know how it would have turned out if we went down a different avenue.
Yeah. I think the other kind of funny story, Chad's alluded to the rental car that we have. So we actually, when we finally bit the bullet and just said we're going to pay the money, let's get the truck. They're going to come the day before Thanksgiving, so that Wednesday. So we're like, great. So we confirmed that on, I think it was Tuesday night. So Wednesday morning, first thing, I booked our rental car. And online, like Chad said earlier, there was only one rental. There was a rental car in town, which we were excited about. I went on their website, booked a car, and they called me and said, although we have cars on our website, we don't have actual cars in our property, which reminded me of the old Seinfeld skit about making reservations. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's hilarious. But so they called us. So they said they didn't have a car. That's actually when Ed got on the road. He's like, well, I'm just gonna come get them. So and 2 hours later they called us and said, good news, we have a car. So I said, I'm going over there. Don't care what it is. And Chad's like, well, make sure, it's going to actually work. So I walk over there, and of course it's, we were hoping for like a little mini SUV or something hatchback. We get a Mini Cooper. So we had 2 grown adults who are both tall and 2 German Shepherd dogs and a Mini Cooper. Hannah was totally fine, curled up in the back seat. We made it work, but Thor, most of the trip was just up on like his front paws, looking around like, this is not okay. This is way too small for us. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
It was a comfortable ride though, and we could go faster than 50 miles per hour.
Upsides.
So that was nice.
Upsides, yeah.
Although we did almost hit a herd of elk on the way up
Yes.
in the middle of the night. That would have most definitely totaled our Mini Cooper.
Which we thought when we saw them, we were like, those are some really jacked up deer, but Ed clarified to us those were probably elk, not deer. So we learned about
buff deer,
just super swole deer. Yeah, I was like, dang, those deer are huge out here.
Yeah.
So
that is the reasons why we decided to ship it. We learned a lot of lessons.
Painful lessons. Yeah.
Very painful, expensive lessons on this trip.
Yes.
And there's more to come.
It's not over.
It's not over, so stick with us. So that's where we're standing right now. That driver is coming from Phoenix. He's going to be here at 3 p.m., which is like an hour and a half, 2.5 hours from now. And in that time, what I need to do is figure out how to release the emergency brake, which can be done manually. So the parking brake or emergency brake is when it's put on, you can't release it without proper air pressure. So we can't get air pressure, so there's a manual override and I have to go down and do that. There's multiple versions of it. You got this spring-loaded one, which we don't have. And then this one, which I do believe we do have. I don't really know if this has anything to do with ours or if that's a third style, but it looks like possibly we just hit it with a hammer and that moves it out. And then once that's released, we shouldn't have anything holding the truck back. Thinking we'll actually be able to start the truck, which will give us steering, and we'll be able to drive the truck up onto the trailer. We just won't have any brakes. So we'll have to use chocks, go really slow. We were gonna use a winch to pull it onto the trailer, but I think I can just drive up there. So anyway, that should be an exciting adventure. We are under the truck. We are trying to undo the parking brakes manually. So this is the parking brake cylinder. You see it pushes a lever here, which does something in here, I don't know what, which probably applies the brakes. And when there's no air pressure at all, I believe these automatically go out with springs. And so they're on right now, even though we have absolutely no pressure in either of the tanks. And here's the one over here. Now I did look up in our data card, and we do have special parking brake, quote unquote, quick release parking brakes. So there's 2 options in the manual. I'm not sure which one we have, but one of them takes a hammer just like this. It actually looks exactly like this, and you hit this lip right here to knock this forward. The other version, you go from behind and use a crowbar, or they call it a tire iron, and I think you do the same thing. There's no way I can even hit this. heard that one. Boom! It worked. Okay. Hallelujah. All right, that worked. That was pretty violent. So you just need to hit them really hard. Apparently that's it. So one thing to note that I didn't mention before you do this, you have to make sure the wheels are chalked. So I have that one chalked there. I have that one chalked back there. I have the front one chalked there. And then the other one is chalked in the front of that tire. So everything's chalked up. It can't go either direction. So now the brakes are released. We should be able to move the truck with no problem. We just have to wait for the tow truck driver. We have the parking brakes unlocked. Truck is ready. We are downsizing, moving everything into this tiny little car, which was the only thing they had available. And at first that wasn't even available. We got put on a waiting list, but they came through pretty quickly. It's about 9 hours. It's going to be a tight fit for the Dugans, but I think it'll be comfortable.
Don't have a choice.
So we're just waiting for the tow truck.
All right. Well, our tow truck is here. That's our tow truck right there. That's legit. So we'll see how this works.
This is it. We got our trailer. It's a little overkill. This thing's insane. Massive. So since I don't have any brakes, I'm going to put it in first gear. I'm going to try to back up the hill, so that'll stop me from going that way, and then drive down in first gear, around, loop around, and then come uphill onto the trailer, which should allow me to stop very easily on the trailer because it's uphill. So that's the plan.
Scale of 1 to 10, what's your stress level right now?
I'm not very stressed at all. Car started, so that's good.
I'm probably at a 9.
Oh, I put the brake valve back in with the JB Weld, and it's still not working. So there we go. It didn't cure the full 15 hours, but we got a good 8 or 9 hours in there. So yeah, I don't know. So we're going in first gear. Oh my God. We lived.
What's your name?
My name is Sergey.
Sergey. Thank you, Sergey.
I think this axle might change. one chain, this or no?
Yeah, that's
What
the
do you think?
steering. Can you go here?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
one chain. This, a crossing. One chain, this, a crossing.
Okay, you're gonna go to the axle over there.
I show you. Oh. 1 second.
You know what's really weird? As I got onto the trailer, I got brake pressure, or air pressure. I went back up to 7.
Hi.
So actually, when I stopped on the ramp there,
Yeah.
I just out of habit hit the brake and it held me.
That's so fun because it looked like you did it. I totally noticed that.
Oh yeah. So I'm glad because I would have just rolled backwards.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I would have had to just,
Well, he had one truck behind you.
oh, when I was on the ramp?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
I think so.
I hope so. Yeah, that was a little sketchy. I shouldn't have stopped on the ramp. That was dumb.
This.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That'll work.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, the axles are strong. Oh, no, I was asking you.
And good morning. It is Thanksgiving Day. I am actually smiling again. So the latest update on our adventure is that we got a rental car. We got a Mini Cooper. I think Chad showed you that yesterday. And we were able to drive about halfway. We made it to Las Vegas, New Mexico last night at about midnight, and we were both just falling asleep. So we got a good night's sleep and are back on the road, fully stocked up with coffee and in our Mini Cooper, which I thought was going to be way too small, but it's actually doing just fine. Dogs are sleeping in the back. And a dog. Oh, Thor's not sleeping. Hi, buddy. Yeah, we're about 2 hours out still from Colorado Springs. I think there's some good lessons learned. One of our friends, Geraldine, and her husband Dan from the famous Dolly's Diary YouTube channel. They are our friends. We feel very lucky. But she said, we're just kind of cutting our teeth. And I definitely think for me, not stressing and just kind of rolling with it, and some things are just going to cost. That was and just kind of making your peace with that, and things aren't going to go as planned. And we were safe, we were together, we had a place to stay, and we're spending some unexpected money, but it's we can always work and make more money. So that's where we are today. And anything else you want to add to that, Chad?
No, I don't think anything. Yeah, nothing else has happened since last night when we sent the truck. We haven't heard from the driver yet, so
Yeah.
not sure where the truck actually is at the moment, but somewhere along the line here. We
Yes.
haven't passed it yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet.
So he didn't pass us in the night, I assume.
Yeah, nice guy. Looked like he did a good job mounting the truck. So yeah, so we just have a lot of this in front of us.
Yeah, this is some pretty flat, boring landscape. The plains of Colorado.
We're actually in New Mexico.
Oh, we're still in New Mexico. Okay.
Very close to the Colorado border, but yes. So that's it for our update. Thanks for watching.